We've unearthed some spectacular artifacts over the years, remnants of past ancient civilizations, fossils of massive dinosaurs that once walked the Earth, and entire underground cities. It's hard to fathom just how many significant things lay buried beneath the surface of the Earth. So join me for today's video as we take a look at the top 15 most incredible discovered artifacts. Number 15, the Terracotta Army. The famous Terracotta Army is not just one, but thousands of amazing artifacts. The first statue was discovered by farmers who were digging a well in 1974. This led to a massive excavation of the area, and another 2,000 statues were unearthed. The statues are of Qin Shi Huang's army. He was the first emperor to rule a unified China, and he ruled from 210 to 221 BC. The statues are remarkable because they're all unique. They have individual tunics, caps, and even facial hair. They also have functioning bronze weapons. This has led historians to believe that each statue actually resembles a specific soldier. The statues are made from clay, and the fact that they're still in very good shape makes the Terracotta Army a fascinating and significant archaeological find. Number 14, the Olmec Colossal Heads. If you're lucky enough to visit the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City, then you can see one of the Olmec colossal heads for yourself. These amazing artifacts hail from the Olmec civilization, a civilization that lived between 400 and 1400 BC. It's believed that they carved these massive heads as portraits for Olmec rulers. The statues vary in size. They're between 5 and 10 feet tall, and they were carved out of basalt stone. They each have unique faces, headdresses, and expressions, and there are 17 of them in total. The first head was discovered by accident by a farmer who was digging at Tres Zapotes in the Tuxtlas Mountains. Most of the other heads were found about 60 miles away at what would have been the ancient capitals of San Lorenzo and La Venta. Number 13, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Imagine this, you're a Bedouin shepherd and you lost a goat, so naturally you go looking for it. Your search brings you to the cliff of the Dead Sea. You see a narrow cave, maybe your goat's in there. Nope, no goat, but you find something else. You discover the greatest archaeological find of the 20th century. That's exactly how the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. The man was named Muhammad el-Dib, and he found the ancient scrolls in 1947. The scrolls were stuffed inside clay jars, and they were written between 300 BC and 70 AD. Some of the scrolls transcribe stories from the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible. Some have prayers and hymns or other religious texts. Archaeologists have found scrolls in 12 other caves near the first one, and all in, there are more than 25,000 pieces of papyrus and parchment. The Dead Sea Scrolls are very significant because they predate the earliest texts of the Hebrew Bible and even have accounts that are not found in the Old Testament. Number 12, King Tut's Burial Mask. Few Egyptian pharaohs, if any, are as famous as King Tutankhamun, so it follows that his burial mask is one of the most famous artifacts ever found. King Tut died in 1323 BC, and his burial mask wasn't discovered until 1922 by British archaeologist Howard Carter. King Tut's entire tomb was found pretty much intact, and because it had been untouched by looters, it was the first Egyptian tomb to provide insight into the enormous wealth that pharaohs took with them to the grave. The burial mask weighs 24 pounds and is made of gold, and it also features an assortment of semi-precious stones. On the forehead is a vulture and a cobra, and they signify the union of the Lower and Upper Egypt. King Tut's burial mask is an iconic artifact, so much so that images of the burial mask are likely to what comes to mind when you hear the words King Tut. Number 11, the prehistoric cave art in the Cave of Altamira. The Cave of Altamira is in Santa Ana del Mar, Cantabria, Spain, and it has some of the earliest known drawings in the world. The cave features something called the parietal cave art, which is a type of prehistoric art containing petroglyphs or engravings on the walls of the caves. In this case, the artwork shows charcoal drawings and paintings of human hands and nearby fauna. The paintings are ancient. They were painted onto these walls around 36,000 years ago. The cave art was discovered in 1868 by Modesto Cubillas. The art in the Cave of Altamira was the first discovery of its kind. They were the first European cave paintings that pointed to a prehistoric origin for the species. When the find was first made public, people rejected the idea that these paintings were prehistoric. But by 1902, other prehistoric cave paintings were found in other regions, so the origin of these paintings in the cave of Altamira could no longer be disputed. Today, the cave of Altamira is designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Number 10. Madaba Map. Also known as the Madaba Mosaic Map, the Madaba Map is in the Church of St. George in Madaba, Jordan. The map is a floor mosaic and it shows part of the Middle East. It is the oldest surviving original cartographic depiction of the Holy Land and dates back to around the 6th century AD. The map is also the oldest geographic floor mosaic in art history. Madaba was hit by a large earthquake in 746, and a lot of the church was destroyed. The church was abandoned until it was rediscovered in 1884, when a new Greek Orthodox church was built there. Over the next few decades, the map was damaged by fires, moisture, and activity in the church. And really, it wasn't until 1965 that the map really drew attention. Heinz Kupers and Heinrich Brandt restored and conserved what was left of the map, and the map was brought to the attention of historians worldwide. Number 9. The Hoxne Hoard. The Hoxne Hoard is aptly named, and it's the largest hoard of 5th and 4th century Roman silver and gold ever discovered in Britain. Oddly enough, this massive haul was discovered by accident. A man named Eric Laws was poking around his village of Hoxne, England, with a metal detector in 1992. At first, he figured he just found a few old coins, but with time, the entirety of the hoard was unearthed. The Hoxne Hoard contains gold, silver, and bronze coins. It has silver tableware, it's got lavish gold jewelry. It's literally the definition of a hoard. All in, there are 14,800 coins and more than 200 other silver and gold items. The hoard has a value of about $8 million, and it's on display at the British Museum in London. When it comes to incredible artifacts, it's hard to compete with a hoard of more than 15,000 of them. The Hoxne Hoard, it's one of the most significant and fortuitous finds of the 20th century. Number 8. The Venus de Milo. The Venus de Milo is one of the most famous works of art from ancient Greece, and it was created sometime between 150 and 125 BC. For a long time, though, the statue was forgotten about until it resurfaced in 1820. It's believed that the statue is of Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love, which is why the statue is sometimes called the Aphrodite de Milos. Some historians, however, contest this theory and claim that the statue is actually of the sea goddess Amphitrite. The creator is also widely contested. Some believe it was made by the Athenian sculptor Praxiteles, while others believe it was the handiwork of Alexandros of Antioch. The statue is made from marble and stands 6 feet 8 inches high. It was found in the ruins of the ancient city of Milos, but who actually discovered it is also unverified. The statue's missing both its arms. Some believe it was incomplete, some believe the arms are intentional. In any case, despite all the arguments surrounding the inspiration for the statue, the creator of the statue, who found the statue and its intentional or unintentional missing limbs, the Venus de Milo is one of the most revered and beloved statues on the planet. It's on display at the Louvre Museum in Paris. Number 7. Lucy. Lucy is named after the famous Beatles song that bears her name, but this Lucy wasn't found in the sky with diamonds. She was found under the ground in Ethiopia in 1974. Lucy is a partial skeleton of an Australopithecus hominin, which was like a human ape, and her discovery changed our modern understanding of our species. Australopithecus afarensis lived between 3.7 and 3 million years ago, meaning that the species survived for at least 700,000 years. They were human relatives, and her skeleton, which is about 3.2 million years old, shows that they were capable of walking upright like humans. It also showed that she likely spent a lot of time in the trees too, like apes. One of the most significant things about Lucy was the size of her brain. Before Lucy, it was widely believed that brains got big before bipedal walking. Lucy didn't have a big brain though, and she could walk, so her discovery forced us to shift around some of our beliefs and thinking when it comes to her species. Number 6. Sutton Hoo Ship Burial. The Sutton Hoo Ship Burial held a wealth of rich artifacts, and it's one of the most important archaeological finds in Europe. In fact, the artifacts found there completely changed our thinking about early medieval Europe because they shed light on a previously misunderstood time in Anglo-Saxon history. Before the Sutton Hoo discovery, it was believed that Anglo-Saxons went through a lawless and ignorant time known as the Dark Ages. But the beautiful artifacts found in the burials speak otherwise. So historians have since changed their understanding of the time frame between the 5th and 10th century. The person that was buried there was likely a very powerful East Anglian king, and the effort it took to bury the ship and the amount of riches buried there suggests that the king was very well off and respected. Number 5. The Baghdad Battery. The Baghdad Battery was an incredible and somewhat perplexing artifact that was discovered in 1936 in a village near Baghdad. This battery actually refers to a set of 3 individual artifacts: a tube of copper, an iron rod, and a ceramic pot. The actual use and purpose of these artifacts is unknown, but Wilhelm Koenig, the director of the National Museum of Iraq, put forth a theory that the objects were some sort of galvanic cell, like a battery of sorts. It's also unclear exactly when they came from, but sources point to sometime around 250 BC to 224 AD. There were no known batteries during that time, so historians have long since argued about the cultural use of these 3 objects. Koenig's theory is supported by the fact that there was likely some sort of wine or vinegar in the pot at some point, and the liquid could have been used as an acidic electrolyte solution to create an electric current. But some historians vehemently reject this idea and claim it was likely some sort of storage for scrolls. In any case, the Baghdad Battery is an interesting artifact that's still a source of contention. Did ancient civilizations have batteries? Well, the verdict is still out on that one. Number 4. The Voynich Manuscript. The Voynich Manuscript was discovered in 1912, and it continues to be a mystery. The manuscript comes from the 15th century, and the book is full of strange and mysterious illustrations. It's also written in an unknown language. The manuscript shows pictures of unknown plants, bizarre objects, and zodiac symbols, amongst other things. This has led some to believe that the book is a code of some sort, and countless historians have tried to crack this code. The writing in the book has been called Voynich cheese, and it's believed that the book was written in Italy. The true meaning of the Voynich manuscript, though, is still widely debated, as is the author or authors. A lot of hypotheses about the language and the content of the book have been put forth over the years, but none of them have actually been verified. The Voynich manuscript, it remains a puzzling and perplexing compilation of strange pictures written in an unknown language. Number 3. The Piris Reis Map. The Piris Reis Map is believed to have been made from a map made by Christopher Columbus. Columbus's map is lost, but Piris Reis, a cartographer, made the map in 1513. We only have 1/3 of the original map, but the map we have shows the western coasts of Europe, the western coasts of North Africa, and the coast of Brazil. There are also some Atlantic islands shown on the map. This map is significant because it shows how much of the New World had been explored by 1510, and while the map is very helpful in our modern understanding of just how far Columbus's explorations veered, there is one particular place on the map that's baffled historians: Antarctica. The map is controversial because some historians suggest that the map is proof that Antarctica may have been explored long before we thought it was. The map shows Antarctica, which wasn't technically discovered until 1818. But because Antarctica is on the map, some historians believe that the continent was clearly discovered 300 years sooner than we thought it was. Did Christopher Columbus go to Antarctica? How could an undiscovered continent be on a map? These are just some of the questions that shroud the famous Piris Reis map. Number 2. The Rosetta Stone. There isn't anything particularly exciting on the Rosetta Stone from a literal standpoint. The stone is a priestly decree that simply affirms the divine cult of King Ptolemy V. This decree was issued in 196 BC on the first anniversary of his coronation. So the information in and of itself is rather bland, but it's not the content that makes the Rosetta Stone so famous. The Rosetta Stone is famous because the decree on the stone was written 3 different times in 3 separate languages. The first script was ancient Greek, the second was ancient Egypt's formal hieroglyphs, and the third was a demotic script, which would have been a casual script. Because there were 3 different scripts on the stone, linguists were able to use the stone to decipher hieroglyphs, which in turn allowed them to decipher all of the other ancient Egyptian writing. So, the Rosetta Stone was an essential key that unlocked the world of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. The Rosetta Stone was discovered in 1799 by French soldiers. These soldiers were in Egypt for Napoleon's campaign there. But when the British defeated the French troops in 1801, the Rosetta Stone wound up in London. Scholars already knew and understood ancient Greek, so they used that knowledge to start deciphering the other two scripts on the stone. It was no easy task, though. It took 20 years before the hieroglyphs were fully understood. Jean-François Champollion is the man credited with cracking the code on the Rosetta Stone. Number 1. The Antikythera Mechanism. The Antikythera Mechanism was pulled from a shipwreck off the coast of Greece in 1901. The device contains gears, inscriptions, and 82 separate fragments. It was created in the 2nd century BC, and since its discovery, it's been widely studied. It's believed that the device had gears that could follow the movement of both the sun and the moon through the zodiac, and that it could predict eclipses. As such, the Antikythera Mechanism is the oldest example of an analog computer. But what's really fascinating about this device is that no one really knows for sure what it was used for. Only a third of it survived, and the device has challenged even the most experienced and intelligent historians and researchers. The general consensus is that it's an early astronomical calendar of sorts, a very old computer, but it's very complex. Scientists believe that it could predict the movement of the 5 known planets at that time, but they're unsure of how the device actually worked. Replicas of the Antikythera Mechanism have been built, but the replicas don't offer a complete picture of how the device worked. It's been called a masterpiece of mechanical engineering, and it solidifies just how advanced some of the ancient civilizations truly were. Unfortunately, because there's so much of the device that's missing, the questions surrounding this incredible artifact may never be fully answered. Needless to say, whatever its purpose, the fact that this device was some sort of early computer is truly amazing, which is why the Antikythera Mechanism has dug its way into the top spot on this list of top 15 incredible artifacts. Watch our Obscure playlist for more top 15 videos about the more obscure subjects in our world. Sit back, relax, and binge watch all of our best and most obscure videos.